question from Jamie. He's asking a question about a video that seems to be a corrupted file. When he looks at it in the media panel, it plays fine, but when he drags it down to the timeline to track 1 and scrubs through it, the screen just turns green. And he's tried playing around with the GPU acceleration, but that doesn't seem to help. And then he provides us with an example of his video here. So let's just play that. And basically we can see that he's scrubbing through the timeline, and we can see that the screen is all green. And also let's remember that this line is red. Lisa then says, well, maybe Filmora is glitching and he could try uninstalling and reinstalling. And so, or otherwise it could be that his graphics card is unable to handle it in or going out. So he responds to Lisa and says, thanks, he's tried uninstalling with no success. Graphics card is an NVIDIA GTX 1650, so I wouldn't think that that should be a struggle. From what I see, I'm pretty sure that the problem is a hardware problem. And let's just go through some things as to why I think that is and how we can work around it. So what Jamie is talking about, playing around with the graphics card here, it's in Preferences, under Performance in this top section here. When Filmora installs, it does test the computer that it's being installed on to see what kind of hardware is there, specifically what kind of graphics card is there. And if it has the correct graphics card, it will select it, and it will also enable these accelerators. If the wrong kind of graphics card is there, it won't select it, and these won't be enabled. So most likely those settings are correct. If you go and you change any of these settings, it is important that you then close Filmora and restart it, because they will only take effect when you restart it. So just changing it and going back and checking it would not tell you anything. Okay, that being said, Jamie feels he has a pretty good card. And it is a pretty good card. So I use Copilot here just to find out what kind of card it is. And it's basically comes in a number of different formats. But basically it comes with 4 gigabytes of pretty fast memory, DDR6. But 4 gigabytes is kind of on the low side, and I'll show you why. But more importantly is, can it do ray tracing? Ray tracing is something that is new architecture. It's only been around for a few years. NVIDIA led this technology. And ray tracing can really speed up video processing. And if we go down here and we ask, does it have ray tracing? The short answer is it does not have ray tracing, no dedicated RT cores. That's for ray tracing. But it can run ray tracing on the older CUDA cores. CUDA cores, they're older because that's basically what GPUs were made of before. They handle simple math. They don't do ray tracing very well. The performance really drops. And in particularly, the frame rate can drop below 30 frames per second when trying to render. So let's keep that in mind. Now, when checking on your hardware, call up the Task Manager, Control-Alt-Delete, and then go on to the Performance tab. This will tell you a lot. With my particular card, I have 24 gigabytes of dedicated memory on the board. And even with this much memory, it is not uncommon for me to run at 100% utilization. The reason is the RT cores, or ray tracing cores, Now, I have a ray tracing RTX card, so I have some of those cores, but they only make up a small portion of this 24 gigabytes. And once that's utilized, then things are going to slow down. And if it has to use the CUDA cores, it's going to go even slower. So you can open this. You can change the settings on this to make it stay on top while you're processing everything else below, and you can see what's going on. If you find yourself that you have a lot of activity on your hard drive, that means instructions can no longer be written to the memory, and or the CPU and GPU are running at 100%. And at that point, Filmora is running faster than the hardware. When Filmora runs faster than the hardware, you will get glitches. You will get these artifacts like the green screen happening. If that happens, what can you do to manage it? First of all, you should be using proxy files. Actually, that's on the Performance tab here. You should be activating this automatically create proxy files. What happens is when you import proxy files into your project, and if the source original file exceeds the proxy level, a duplicate file at a lower resolution is made, and that's okay. You will make your changes to that lower resolution file, and when you go to export, those changes will be applied to your higher resolution. So it's okay to edit in something that is a lower resolution. So you would just pick something suitable where you can still see the edit, and then when you export it, you'll still get your high resolution. But this would certainly help them. Now, the other thing is the background render. And I noted that when we looked at his example that he posted, we saw that the video was not fully rendered on the timeline. Let's just go into that. I just wanted to make one more statement about the proxy files. In the media cache, you can choose to have the proxy files automatically deleted every time you close the project. I would not recommend this setting if you're going to open the project more than once, because you don't want to sit around waiting for all the proxy files to be recreated before you can start editing. So I would recommend leaving it off, and then once you're done with your project, come in here and then just hit the clear button, and then everything will be fine. Now let's import a large file and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to import a 12 megabyte file, or 12 gigabyte file rather. And you noted that I did not have the proxy file created because I want to show you what happens up here. So I'm going to drag it down to the timeline, and I had it set for a for starting to render 5 seconds after I stop playing around with the timeline. You'll notice that the entire timeline is in red at this point in time, and that means that this is not rendered. You can see the green line is starting to appear. That means it's starting to render. At this point, anything here under the red is going to be what they call a lazy load, not fully rendered. It's going to cause glitching. It's going to cause delays. It will cause that green screen. So this is an issue where you should render. Now, if you have it set so you don't render the background because you don't like that, then you can always utilize this button. It will be lit up and you can go ahead and render that particular file. Actually, this will render the entire timeline, but you can use that to manually render. You shouldn't have to do that. So I would recommend using a proxy file that is going to render more quickly on your timeline than this something like this large file. I did note that Jamie's file was 13 minutes long. Mine is 17 minutes long. And if I right click on it, I can reveal the properties of this particular file. You can see it's almost 12 gigabytes. It is a 4K resolution at about 30 frames per second. Anyway, so it is a large file. It could be much more easily handled with a proxy file. I think a proxy file could help solve Jamie's problem. But let's look at another thing on the hardware side that could be affecting the green screen. I'm going to slide Filmora off the screen a little bit so I can right-click and look at my display settings. Now I happen to have a very large monitor, 49-inch wide. That's why I can slide things off. But I had issues with green screens, and that was because I had the wrong drivers installed. I currently use the wrong scale, or not the recommended scale, and also the refresh rate. I have changed that, and that did help me a little bit. But basically, take a look at your scale. Go with the recommended setting, 100%. In my case, if I do 100%, I have to use a magnifying glass to see the text on the screen. That's why I'm doing higher. So I lived with some of those green screen issues. You can adjust the resolution. Again, I would stay with the recommended resolution for your particular monitor, because this is where you're going to experience your issues. If you change the resolution, you're going to get really some weird effects. And finally, down here under the advanced display, the refresh rate. Now, I was able to go into here, and I look at the refresh rate, and the default setting I think must be around 50 hertz. I boosted mine to 240 hertz. I wanted a faster refresh rate so that I wouldn't get this green screen. So that has helped me somewhat. I still get some issues with the green screen because I'm not fully in sync. And apparently I can't do this. I'm not going to bother looking it up now, but you can look into that. So look at your hardware. Make sure you have the optimal settings. Make sure you have the current video drivers installed. This could probably help you a lot. You're not the only one that gets these green screen problems. I have this green bar here at the bottom. This is not the result of a flaw within Filmora. This is a flaw within my own hardware setup. So that's why I recommend you look at your hardware setup. With one thing within Filmora that I did not touch on, which I should probably just touch briefly on, and that is the project setting. You have a project setting at a certain rate or whatever, and if you change it or you bring something in and it doesn't match, then this could also cause a green screen problem. You'll notice that right now it's set to the rating of this particular video clip that I dropped down there. I'm going to drop in a different clip. We're just going to drop this in here. And we're going to see here. Now, if I choose match media, rather than keeping the project settings, I'm not matching it just for that particular clip that I just put in. I actually changed the project settings for everything. And you'll notice now I have this setting 30 frames per second. And remember that this was a higher higher frame rate, or a slightly different frame rate, and also the resolution is different. So by dropping in this lower resolution file into the same project and say match the project settings, I have now changed this, and I might get a green screen because my project settings don't match my video, my particular video clip. So that's an additional item that could create the problem. So those are the things that I think you should look at. And I do have a video on my channel in which I describe the best way to submit an issue to Wondershare. And I would recommend you look at that, since you commented that that you had not heard anything 36 hours later. There is a good way to submit your questions where you will get a response right away. So take a look at that at my channel.